Okay, I think we're right to go, so we'll declare the meeting open and I'll get everyone to stand for the affirmation. We recognise the traditional owners of the land. We're inspired by the early pioneers and by those who gave their lives for our country. We now ask God's blessing on our deliberations and on our commitment to build a better lifestyle and environment. Be seated. This council meeting is being recorded and live streamed to council's YouTube channel. The recording will also be made available on council's website, whilst all care has been taken to ensure that your privacy is maintained. Please be aware that your presence may be recorded. Okay, confirmation, any apologies firstly? I don't think there is any. Confirmation of the minutes held at the council meeting on Monday the 7th of August 2023.
I move, Mr Mayor, that they seem to be an accurate record.
Move Councillor Haswell.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Emerson. All those in favour? Take that as carried. Any matters arising out of those minutes? No presentations or awards. Petitions, we're dealing with those a little bit later. And joint letters. Disclosure of conflict of interest at the council meeting.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I've got a conflict on item 9.12. I join potential options for the netball court. I shall leave the room when that's discussed. Thank you.
Any others? No? Okay, we'll move on to the informal meetings of councillors. Number those there. Get a resolution to move and second those.
I'm happy to move that they're correct.
I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
All in favour? Those against? That's carried. Item 9.1, Enhanced Lifestyle and Community. Council Action Plan 23-24.
I'm happy to move that council notes and adopts the Council Action Plan 2023-24.
I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Heslop.
So, yeah, we've had some discussions. There have been some actions have been removed, and we're well aware why these actions have been removed. And I think majority of council is satisfied that some of these actions will be moved into the next year's council time frames, or there's other reasons why they've been moved. Most of the council action items, 80%, 69%, 89%, 100%, depending on which category they fall in, are on track, which is good. And yeah, just happy to move that that council notes and adopts the Council Action Plan 2023-24.
Councillor Haswell.
Nothing further.
Any other councillors wish to speak?
Yes, Mr Mayor, just one comment. I'll be foreshadowing a motion in the near future in regard to the development of the St Arnaud pre-prep building. It won't be today, but it'll be a shadow motion in the near future.
Okay. All right, any other councillors wish to speak? Wish to sum up, Councillor Heslop?
Nothing further to add, but can I just seek clarification on Murray? Can I just seek a bit more clarification on what he's intending on doing?
If you wish, Councillor Emerson.
Yeah, more than happy to reply to that. The foreshadow of my motion is at another council meeting, not today, but just bringing to the attention of councillors that I think we need to get a very serious plan into our action plan in regard to what is currently the pre-prep kindergarten building in St Arnaud.
Anything further, Councillor Heslop, you wish to sum up?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Item 9.1.2, Central Park Netball Court upgrades. Note that our CEO has left the room.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a technical failure. The recommendation is that Council A supports the design, development and construction of a single court lighting and officials game infrastructure. B supports the design and development of supporting netball infrastructure that aligns with Netball Victoria guidelines. C allocates $300,000 to the project as a co-contribute, in the words, of the $1.65 million already endorsed in Council's 2023-33 10-year capital and projects budget, which would reduce Council subsidy for the entire project of up to $1.4 million. And D continues to work with stakeholders in future precinct planning, infrastructure reviews, participation and activation of netball outcomes at Central Park. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Mover, second.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Councillor Starcevic.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We've had a lot of work by council officers with regard to the netball courts at Central Park. The space limitations really focus us on the delivery of one netball court. There just isn't any sufficient space for anything else, but also it requires the orientation of the netball court from the east-west to the north-south direction to comply with Netball Victoria's view on a fair and equitable playing service for both teams. To that end, this recommendation goes to the build of a single netball court and associated facilities for the netball at Central Park. Thank you.
Councillor Heslop.
So this is a community demand, and it's been a demand in our community for quite a long time. So adopting this recommendation will then enable us to apply for grant funding through Sport and Rec Victoria, which is important for this project to go forward, that we do get funding. So I think it's very important that we do adopt this recommendation.
Any other councillors wish to speak? No? Wish to sum up?
I think that's all been said. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Item 9.1.3, Sedana Pre-Prep Modular Building Location Petition. This is the one that was laid on the table last council meeting.
The recommendation is that Council notes the commentary in the report in respect of the issues raised in the petition in respect of the St Arnaud Pre-Prep Modular Building Location, and that this commentary be the basis for responding to the head petitioner.
Get a seconder?
Happy to second.
Councillor Starcevic? If you wish to. You don't have to. The replies will go to the...
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The commentary, the responses to the petition questions are many and varied, and they're fairly lengthy, so I won't read them through here. They will be responded to the lead petitioner. I believe that the questions that were raised through the first petition will be answered through council officers' commentary. Thank you.
Councillor Dempsey? Anyone else wish to speak? Wish to sum up at all, Councillor Starcevic?
Yeah, look, I do just wish to speak. So some of the concerns raised in the petition were loss of amenity, reduction in car parking, loss of trees in Golden Street, heritage issues, concerns about the consultation process, seeking clarification about the permit process. So there were 27 signatures that were submitted to Council. This report basically, hopefully, answers some of your questions.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Go again. Wish to sum up at all?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think that's Councillor Hislop's commentary is right.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Item 9.3.1, Halls Gap, Grampians Peaks Trail. Oh, I've skipped one, have I? Got an important one too. We'll get there in a minute. There it is. Yeah,
I'm happy to move the recommendation that Council adopts the C63 NGRA amendment to the Northern Grampians Shire Planning Scheme and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to write to the Minister for Planning to request the amendment be approved and Council be directed to issue the associated planning permit 5.2022.7.1 for subdivision.
Did we get a seconder? Councillor Hislop.
Yeah, look, this is a really exciting recommendation for Council. By approving this recommendation, will enable Sheridan to commence marketing of house and land packages, and it will unlock an additional 110 new housing lots in Stawell. So it's a big bonus for Stawell. At the moment, Council forecasts a shortfall of 220 houses in Stawell. Just with the growth of businesses, that's what we're forecasting Stawell is lacking. This actual planning scheme amendment is much needed housing boost for the growth of Stawell, and just people seeing the work that's going on there on the site at the moment. It's increased a lot of confidence in Stawell, and just the add-on effects, it's going to boost economic growth, the effects, people coming along landscaping, just the build on for this project will be fantastic. So there was considerable community engagement in regards to this. There's no objections received. It looks just fantastic. It's great news for Northern Grampians Shire, and very, very happy to be recommending that this be approved.
Councillor Haswell.
Nothing further, Mr Mayor.
Any other councillors wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think some of the other aspects here is that, as Councillor Haswell was, Councillor Hislop was referring to, was the add-ons. We understand that in excess of $7 million of additional growth will be injected into this community. And all I can say is from the northern end of the Shire, I hope we get the same benefit from the Albert Street development, albeit 40 houses instead of 110. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Look, I just add this is a great development. I can't actually recall one of this size actually happening in Stawell for a long, long time, if at all. So it is great to see. Already sales have been good, so it's a very positive step to see actual dirt turned and some, hopefully in the new year, some houses raising out of the ground. So very exciting, and I'm sure that it will add to the confidence of Northern Grampians. And to you, Councillor Starcevic, I hope we can see it happen in the northern end of the Shire. It's desperately needed. Councillor Hislop, you wish to sum up?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Get back to where I was before. Halls Gap, Grampians Peaks Trail.
Yes, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the motion recommendation that Council endorses Grampians Peak Trailhead at Halls Gap, permits Park Victoria to undertake the work on council-managed land between Folkes Road and Stony Creek Halls Gap, and contributes $200,000 towards the Grampians Peak Trailhead. Thank you.
Get a seconder?
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Grady, you wish to speak on it?
Yes, Mr Mayor. The Peaks Trail is location's been a topic of interest for the council since the inception of the GPT. Council first established the trailhead location preference in 2015 with the objective of delivering a major tourist draw card within Halls Gap village centre, and ensuring economic development benefits are maximised. Since 2018, council officers have been working with Parks Victoria on the effective placement of the Grampians Peak Trail at Halls Gap in accordance with the community planning. Parks Victoria have since obtained funding from the Tourist Infrastructure Program for the delivery of multiple trailheads and other infrastructure associated with the Grampians Peak Trail. Thank you.
Councillor Emerson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Of course, the Grampians Peaks Trail is a wonderful innovation for our Shire, and when you look at some of the figures, they're millions of dollars per year in economical benefit, so I certainly support this motion. I just worry sometimes about the ongoing costs.
Any other councillors wish to speak?
Mr Mayor, thank you. This work at the trailhead is important not just for Halls Gap, but it also allows for tourism to reach out across our Shire, and many of us have seen the recent branding signage within St Arnaud, within Stawell, and other places. Great Western, I believe, is coming up soon. We needed a focal point, which was Halls Gap, which is the Grampians, and from that the idea is that they will move across the Shire, across the landscape into various other places, and we have been planning now for the past 2 years to make that a reality, so we can take full advantage of the Halls Gap and Grampians development. So this development is a really good thing. It'll bring more people here. More people means that the chance and potential for us to see them in smaller towns is going to be greater. Thank you.
Any other councillors wish to speak?
Yes, Mr Mayor, it's a really good design too. I was amazed by the design and the boardwalk and the way it goes along the side of Stony Creek. I think it'll be an exceptional entryway to the Peaks Trail, and I'll be pretty proud to recommend this one.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Look, I just add 2015, it has been a while coming, and I think the $200,000 was budgeted back in 2018, so you chuck in COVID and a few other things, and it's been quite a while coming, so it will be very pleasing to see this delivered in Halls Gap, which is what we wanted right from the start, and will add to the tourist experience out there in the Grampians. So well done to all those involved. It has been a long battle, but looks like we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel after, what's that, eight years?
Yeah.
Hard to believe. Okay, you wish to sum up, Councillor Grady?
Just a couple of things. I've seen the concept design for the trailhead, and I think it'll be a big improvement to that area in Halls Gap, because it's there's not much there really when you look towards Stony Creek, whereas this will really bring people into that area, I think, and it's going to be excellent for the whole trail, the whole system. It'll make a big difference. Thank you.
Very good. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. I should have mentioned the Grampians Peaks Trail 100, GPT 100. Will be on in November, I think. If you feel like running a mountainous track.
I'll be there, Mr Mayor.
Yes, I won't be there. Okay, 9.3.2, Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Fund, round 4.
I love a short list, Mr Mayor, so I'll endeavour to do my best. The recommendation is that Council adopts the proposed projects for the federally funded Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program Phase 4. These include Navarre Recreation Reserve facility upgrades, street lighting LED conversion, Lord Nelson Park former change room site drainage and pedestrian improvements, Stall Town Hall stage accessibility lift, Fenwick Street deep lead road ceiling, Wallaloo East Road ceiling widening, Kelly's Beach Road Lake Fynes road ceiling, Clyde Street St Arnaud footpath, Raglan Street St Arnaud footpath, Smith Street Stall footpath, Sundial Avenue and Belmouth, Sundial Avenue and Belfield Crescent Halls Gap curb and channel review, McClellan Street Manu drainage upgrades. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, we'll get
I like
that tongue
Herb's
twister.
gap. I thought that was good.
We'll get a seconder for that motion.
I'm happy to second it.
You wish to speak on that motion, Councillor Starswick?
Mr Mayor, before the proposer makes his submission, I'd like to call for an amendment.
Okay, what's your amendment, Councillor?
My amendment is, as the recommendation stands, with the removal of the Stall Town Hall stage accessibility lift. And if you want me to speak on it, I will.
Okay, we have the amendment. Okay, you wish to speak on that amendment?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I take into consideration when we're putting a lift into our town hall at our stage, I take into consideration what we did at the Sedana Town Hall. We put in a lift there for quite a considerable amount of money that doesn't get a real lot of use. And I think that's a good example of why we shouldn't be installing this one into the Stall Town Hall. In reality, there's, I think, 8 or 10 steps from the floor to the stage area. I don't think it justifies a large amount of money to install a lift.
You are aware that it is for disability?
I am certainly aware of that.
We have an amendment. We get a seconder for that amendment.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay. Okay, we'll debate the amendment. Councillor Emerson, you wish to?
Well, I've already led the debate, and it's a lot of money for a small amount of use, and I certainly take into consideration incapacitated people and groups like that. But I just think the way we are at the moment, I don't think it's the time for us to be putting in a lift anywhere in reality. Thank you.
Councillor Haswell?
Yes, Mr Mayor. I think I agree with this. I'm also keenly aware of people with disabilities not being able to get up on the stage, but there is several metres of floor space that far below the front of the stage where anyone that's got a disability, if they're in a wheelchair or they have difficult mobility issues, can be seen and can be heard in front of the stage. And at a time like this, when we're trying to save money wherever we can, I think it's prudent to put that one on the back burner for now.
Mr Fiddle, could we get a bit of a description of what the project might entail and the cost of that project?
Yes, sure, Mr Mayor. So the cost estimate for the lift is approximately $100,000. The intention is that the lift would be a dedicated fixed lift for the stage itself. It is predominantly designed for wheelchair access. Effectively it works as if you open the gate, you wheel yourself into the lift area, you close the gate, it lifts you to the height of the stage, you then open the gate and you're able to access the stage. That is effectively the scope of the project.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against the amendment?
Yeah, look, I wish to speak against the amendment. Just know over the years being on council that this has been on the wish list for quite a number of years, not just been the last couple of years. I think it's probably 6-8 years that it's been on the wish list for. The idea of the local roads and community infrastructure program is to get these sort of things done that we wouldn't have the money otherwise to do. Considering the costs, I don't think it's a huge impost. I don't think it's a huge cost, and it's such a huge need for our community. So, yeah, I don't support the amendment.
You can speak to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to clarify because I don't want to step out of court. I attended with yourself the CFA National Emergency Medal presentations, and there were a number of people that were not able to stand up and walk up the stairs onto the stage. I think I'm going to argue against the amended motion. The LRCI funding is, as Councillor Hislop says, specifically for these type of activities. I do note Councillor Emerson's commentary about the St Arnaud lift. Yes, that's a very large impost on the purse. It has not been operational for some number of years, or at least 18 months that I'm aware of, but now has been functional, and that elevator carries people up to the mezzanine area for things like dead ball and such. However, this appears to be a scissor lift of some sort, or just a small lift that will lift about 2 metres or 1.5 metres. Mr Trenton?
Yes, it's a small lift. It's not a scissor lift. It's a small lift that runs up tracks along the front of the structure.
Whilst I am surprised at the cost, I think the community, I think we do owe it to the community to have access to that stage area as necessary, and the functions here for a town that is growing, certainly with 110 new housing sites, is certainly going to be a growing community. It does warrant such an addition to this town hall. Thank you.
Any other councillors for or against the amendment?
I want to speak. I think when we're looking at diversity and inclusion in our communities and thinking of like representing the whole community, you know, at what cost are we willing to forego? And in some ways, money doesn't come into it because it's something that we should be looking at ways to include all the community. So I think for that reasoning, $100,000 isn't much to include others to be able to have the same level of accessibility as others. I'm certainly not someone that has a disability and I can't speak for them, but I'd imagine the struggles that people do go through on a daily basis, and that, you know, that they have to do sit aside and probably putting someone in this case at the front rather than up on the stage. Like, they just want, if it's kids especially, like we have a specialist school too, we have people with special needs or elderly that would require that use. So to be able to, you know, join their fellow, you know, school students on stage and their friends, I think is really important to look at it from a different point of view. We've certainly made decisions for a lot more money on things of a lot less importance. So I think for this one, it's a no-brainer.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Nearly done everyone, I think. Okay, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment? Those against? The amendment's defeated. We'll go back to the original motion. You wish to speak on the original motion? Councillor Starsvik.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As long as I don't have to repeat the list, I'm happy. I think the projects that were proposed through the LRCI funding go across the Shire, cover off a whole bunch of areas where we do need some infrastructure, be they footpaths, road widening, resealing, those sort of activities, particularly the rather large big ticket item. These funds are not tied, as my understanding, and therefore we can allocate them as necessary across the various projects. So I commend the list to the Council. Thank you.
Councillor Hislop.
So it does say council is eligible for this this money, so it's still not guaranteed. So I hope we do get the money. It just enables us to do so much more with our budget if we can get this type of funding. So previously we've been able to get this under phase 2 of the of this actual funding. Sanana Tennis Club, North Park building surrounds, Landsborough Road bridge upgrade, Wollering Road culvert, Sloane Street roundabout rehabilitation. There's lots of projects that we've been able to do with this funding, so very, very important for our Shire. So I hope we do receive this funding, and I think the projects are fantastic. So thank you.
Any other councillors wish to speak for the original motion? Look, I just said, I concur with Councillor Emerson. We try and save money, but this is probably a one-off chance to actually do something for our disabled people in the community. And I know how much of a struggle it is because I have a niece that is wheelchair bound, and it's quite difficult. Just lucky she's got very good parents who have taken her around to various things, but it's a real challenge, and if we can be a little bit more inclusive this, I think it's a good thing. So this money is quite flexible in its application, and I note on there too, street lighting LED conversion. We must be getting close to nearly having them all converted, are we, Trenton?
Yes, correct. We had a project many years ago that saw the conversion of most of our public lighting to LED. This is the last batch, effectively, that will be done of our street lights.
It's good to hear because LEDs do save dollars, so we might have just covered the 100 grand. Okay, wish to sum up at all?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think the thing that we've got to recognise also is that the LRCI funding for this year, I believe, is let me get the right number right, $10,042,000. So just over a $10 million contribution to our council coffers is no small feat. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Okay, motion's carried. Okay. No notices of motion or rescission. Reports from councillors. Who'd like to start? Councillor Dempsey.
I can. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Fair few meetings and things to report on of late. Councillor Astasevic and I sit on a youth strategy reference group run by Northern Grampians Shire Council, of which we've had a meeting recently, and there's a lot of work going on with the community engagement staff behind the scenes. Recently they've put out a survey to all young people to complete. I think it's under the age of 25, potentially around that. So they've received over 250 responses so far, which I think there's still chance for submission, but they're also collating some of those responses to have that voice of young people in our council as to what they want and need in their community. So that's a really important thing, and great to see all those people who have responded so far. I've also attended the Women for Council meeting for Northern Grampians Shire, and we had the multicultural officer from the Shire, Patricia Alves, was our guest speaker. So she spoke what it was like from a migrant background coming to the area, and discussed the issues that people within our town face, some things that are taken for granted around language barriers and other areas where she's working closely with a lot of the communities as well, which is great to see. So that was good to be involved in. We also had a number of other discussions at that meeting too. Many of us attended the Staff Recognition Awards, of which is a great thing that the council do run to recognise the work of long-standing staff members. With obviously we had John Hunt, who celebrated 45 years, which as you said, is no small feat in terms of things. And I'd also like to acknowledge Kerry Wilson, she's been at the library, I think it's about 37 or 38 years, but given that it transitioned then from the Wimmera Library Corporation or whatever under council, isn't recognised under that banner as well as such. So that's another one that's, started off working in a library at 16 or something and has come a long way, similar to John. So it's great to see people that live in the area that come up through the ranks and then continue to serve our community. I also attended the Stawell Neighbourhood House Committee meeting, the Community of Respect and Equality Committee meeting. I've had a lot of positive feedback so far from residents in St Arnaud around the FOGO trial. They're really happy to receive their green waste bins, so we look forward to seeing how that goes. And another big ticket one is the Stawell Skate Park. So we had a working group where we met at the skate park right before it opened. We opened the actual gates. So it's officially opened. It'll be formally launched on the 16th of September with Shreddability coming to attend and a lot of local youth groups and members of the working group being involved in the running of that event. So once again, a lot of positive feedback so far, quite a busy spot there, and there just needs to be a few minor finishing touches in terms of some landscaping and some, seating and barbecue and water fountain. I haven't been there this week, I'm not sure if any of that's been done, but that's some of the other things. But basically it's open for community to use and they've been quite thankful for it. So, that's something that has come full circle since I was involved in the youth strategy, the one that they're putting together now, but I was involved in the one about 10 years ago when I first moved to the area, and that was top of the list for the young people's voice, was to have a skate park in Stawell upgraded. So we've come around now to being able to do that, and as I mentioned at the start, the youth survey that people have been involved in, you'll be able to see some of those ideas come to fruition, hopefully in another 10 or less years' time. So thank you to all those people who have been involved in that.
Councillor Starcevic.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Queen Mary Garden Advisory Committee was held a couple of weeks ago, and they have made plans for some rather large palms. They've got a $2,500 budget for some palms. So we're currently liaising with Trenton's team to facilitate the move of those rather large vegetables to their appropriate site. They are not going to be small, they're certainly going to be large. The new terms of reference for the Queen Mary Gardens Advisory Committee were discussed and reviewed, and I believe have been adopted. Also, our monthly scan meeting raised a whole bunch of issues, too many to note, but they were subject of a rather short list to both Vaughan and Trenton recently. So that's now heading off to Merit, and the people that raised those will be contacted in due course, as I'm assured now that the outward-looking part of Merit will certainly be have the capacity to respond. To that issue, Vaughan visited St Arnaud, the McDonald Hall, specifically about the audio-visual material. The new audio-visual system is a massive improvement on what was there in the past. However, there's a lack of capacity to operate it. So Vaughan and his team are talking about ways in which that they can educate users, as long as our people are aware that there's one or two people that have got to be responsible for the use of that. So we will no longer have to worry about the large overhead 1960 speakers that the CWA convention had to use. We'll be able to use the brand new boom boxes that we've got in there now. So thank you to that. Whenever we get a chance to have Brent up at St Arnaud, we tend to utilise his time, so he loses a day whenever he comes up to St Arnaud. But to that end, and we also had Justine Kingham up there as well. We visited with Bayada Poultry, who are the only one in Victoria that manages turkeys. It's been, Prestwood's used to own it. Most of you will be familiar with Prestwood's operation. Biata took it over. They currently employ 49. They have a desire to employ 59 with nine new positions that they're calling on. Their challenge is staffing, housing and childcare. They were looking at losing 9 of their staff because of the lack of childcare that we are unable to provide in our current configuration. We also went to see Dana Decker at the new Shire Cafe, Dana is certainly going to improve the hospitality scene within St Arnaud. I think that's going to be a fair comment, so it's great to see a new business operating there. And for those that are unaware, the bloke in the kitchen is Jason, who's an earthworks contractor, but has been co-opted by his wife to work in the kitchen. Rather novel sight there, I must admit. Andrew Weir spoke to us about the 80 people that he employs and the housing and staffing issues that he faces. So there's a theme that's going on: housing, staffing, childcare. These are all themes. Farm Pro. Brent was quite impressed with Farm Pro because basically I think that the fact that he sends machinery off to his home country of New Zealand. So it's nice that something goes back over the ditch to New Zealand from Australia, particularly Victoria. He currently employs 9 people, has got space for another 3 or 4. And so the list goes on. We went to see Scott Cameron at Elders. He has 4 positions available but cannot find any housing for them. So the big ticket items are housing, childcare and staff. I also attended the Progress Association at Stuart Mill and the Rec Reserve, a few others, but Teddington Reservoir is now becoming a challenge for the community. GWM Water wrote back to Council regarding their request for a stay on proceedings, and GWM wrote back to Council to speak to the issue of not requiring the reservoir for the East Pyrenees Southern Mallee pipeline. I have to get that right. So consequently, there's one more strike against the opportunity to prevent the decommissioning. The handle on the decommissioning is far more clear now, where there was talk about lowering the height of the reservoir. It is now cutting a vertical slot through the dam to full depth, so there will be nothing retained in the water. There's no halfway here. There's either full level or 0, and the decommissioning is 0. They're proceeding apace with that activity, and that'll do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So I went to the Vietnam Commemoration Service and Veterans Day morning tea install. It was well attended, lots of conversations, and just, I think, really nice for people to be able to share their stories. Congratulations to the staff and contractors for getting this dual skate park up and running. Every time I drove past there's just loads and loads of kids. They're obviously really enjoying the new space. Been very, very popular. It looks fantastic, and congratulations to all involved in it, because it's it's come up really well. It just really looks really, really good. Went to the stall recognition of service celebration for staff. Staff recognition of service celebration. And yes, one of our staff members, 45 years. I'm sure there's not a lot of councillors could say that they've got a staff member that's been with them for 45 years. He's very, very proud of what he's done over those 45 years. And, you know, thank you to him for being with us for 45 years, because he's done a lot of good work over the years. So also, Murray and myself attended a community pre-prep meeting in St Arnaud, which was well attended. Lots of questions raised. It was great to see so many people get up and speak sincerely and speak to what they believed in. And I'm not sure if we answered a lot of questions, but it was just a very important meeting, I think, for Murray and I to attend to, because we heard a lot of concerns. Also, we had a pre-prep meeting in Wednesday in St Arnaud with a few of my fellow councillors. Once again, listened to some concerns. We've had a lot of, I suppose over the last couple of weeks especially, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails in concern to the location of the pre-prep building, some for and against. Look, it's been a really difficult, I suppose, journey. And yeah, just thank people for reaching out to us. And that's all that I have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I've had a quiet month this month. I've only been to 28 meetings, but a couple of those meetings that have been of concern to me are the pre-prep building meetings that Karen and I and other councillors went to. Not all councillors were able to attend, but we had fairly good representation. Unfortunately, I can't report today on any forward movement in regard to both the people who are in agreement with the development and those who are against the development. There's a little bit more information that I've got to try and glean before I can, before I'm prepared to make a public stand in regard to it. It's a really unfortunate situation where it seems to be dividing the community somewhat, and I hope that somewhere along the way Council can come to some decision to maybe alleviate some of that problem and make it, wherever it might end up, make it a building that people will be proud of.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Since my motion for a vote of no confidence was adopted at St Arnaud last month, I've received an overwhelming positive reaction from the community. But other things have come to light as well. I've received so far 2, and 1 still to come, detailed reports of people having bad treatment at Stawell Hospital. I have forwarded these on to the CEO, and I now have the permission of the complainants to have these sent through to Grampians Health to the CEO. So I would ask that that can happen now, please, Mr CEO, and thank you. Oh, that was well timed.
Time's up. Councillor Grady.
It's been a pretty good month. This month, start off, I attended the Thanks. Thanks. The VNI West anti-transmission line rally in Melbourne at State Parliament. It's quite amazing. We had about 80 tractors and a couple of trucks and a few utes. Probably around about 300 or 400 people on the steps of Parliament House. It was very well run. We didn't have any problem with police present. There was plenty of police in the back streets just in case, but they weren't needed, so it was good. We had Emma Keeley speak, David Littleproud and Anne Webster, all politicians, all put their views forward. I also attended MAV Gender Equity for Councillors workshop in Melbourne, which was very informative. I got a lot out of that one. We had a wind farm meeting in Kallawatta, just ongoing thing with the whole wind farm and anti-trans group. We had the Lake Fines Foreshore Committee AGM, which I chaired the AGM, and had the re-election of the new office bearers. We had the Great Western Futures Committee AGM, which I chaired as well. That's huge change in Great Western Futures Committee. We've gone from lucky to get 4 or 5 people to averaging somewhere around 30 plus at every meeting, so it's really good to see it coming ahead. We had a meeting with the Brunel Street, the trees along the footy ground. We just need the football club to get back to us, but everyone else at that meeting decided we'd go along. The Northern Grampians Shire got a independent arbitrist in there to report on all the trees, and everyone at that meeting agreed that we would go follow that report over the next couple of years. So there's a couple of trees left to come down now that are dead. Stronger ones will stay there until we get a chance to sort something out with that street. So that was really good. And as Councillor Herzog said, we went over the pre-prep meeting at St Arnaud. It's one of those things that puts, I don't know, councillors, I don't think we can win either way at the moment, because it won't matter which way we go. We'll have half the town against us. So hopefully, as Councillor Emerson said, that we can actually come to some agreement over the whole thing very soon. And also attended a meeting up at Rapania, a new group about the wind farms. They're a very well organised group, and they're working with the Wallaloo and Gree people as well about transmission line. They're just worried about wind farms going out on good farmland and how much production we'll lose from that land. And that was it. Thank you.
Very good. Been busy, and there's plenty to think about. Look, I attended most of those events. My congratulations to John Hunt for 45 years, great effort. And the Vietnam vets too, that was a really good morning. We had a morning tea, and it was very well attended. And 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War, so hard to believe that things go that quickly. Okay, can I get a motion to move and second those reports and the one from the Queen Mary Gardens Advisory?
Happy to move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Emerson.
Happy to second. Sorry, Chair.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Urgent business items.
Happy to raise some urgent business items. So the first urgent business item being to receive a petition to council. So the one petition is to save Market Square. Second urgent business item is...
Mr Mayor?
Yep.
The procedure requires us to accept what the urgent business might be before we...
You're just reading out what she's raising at urgent business. Then we'll accept them.
I'll reserve my point of order.
Okay.
A little bit longer.
The second urgent business is to receive a petition to council outlining concerns. So that's to save option 4. My third urgent business item is to defer any more action on the proposal to locate the pre-prep modular building at Market Square and to seek additional time to consider other options.
Okay, any other items of urgent business? I'll get a mover and seconder to receive those items as urgent business.
I'm happy to move the motion.
Get a seconder.
Excuse me, can I just have some clarity on the three urgent business items, because the way I'm reading it, 2 I'd support, 1 I probably wouldn't. So can I get some clarity on what they are? There's two notions of motion I understand, and what was the third one?
Defer.
Defer.
Yeah. Defer the decision. Just say it again, Councillor Herzog.
The third one, Karen.
What was the third one again?
A deferment on any action... Oh, sorry. A deferment on any action to the proposal to locate the pre-prep modular building in Market Square to seek additional time to consider other options.
We'll treat them individually.
I was going to ask that, Mr Mayor, because they're two common and one completely different, we should separate them and deal with them individually.
Yes, we will. I have a mover for those items in urgent business. Get a seconder?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd be happy to second dealing with the notice of motions. Not the notice, the petitions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
But not the third one.
Okay. We can do them individually. Okay, you wish to move your motion on the... I better put that motion. All those in favour?
The petitions?
For those items of urgent business.
Oh, yes.
We can vote on them individually as we go. We receive those items for urgent business? Yep. Those against? That's carried. Your motion won.
That the petition to save Market Square be received and lay on the table until the next council meeting.
Get a seconder for that motion.
Happy to second that motion, Mr Mayor.
You wish to speak on that motion?
So the petition has come to council, obviously, to save Market Square. So at the moment, the petition is in a hard copy, has 500 signatures, and online 155 as at the 31st of the 8th, 23. So there's obviously quite a large number of signatories, and being a councillor, my role is to listen to my constituents and the people in our council. So I think that this needs to go further. A full report needs to be written by our officers to be actioned at the next council meeting.
Councillor Emerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's quite a simple process that I'd support the motion in regard to the fact that when motions come to council, they have regulatory times that they've got to be presented to council. It hasn't reached that stage. It was a few days short of the 10-day requirement. But to make sure that the process moves as quickly as possible, I'm more than happy to support the motion to get the petition placed on the table.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Wish to sum up on this motion, councillors?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Item number 2.
Okay, that the petition to save option 4 be received and lay on the table until the next council meeting.
Yes, Mr Mayor, happy to second that motion as well.
Councillor Hislop.
So there's another petition that's come to council. So it's an online petition. As of Friday the 1st September, there's 251 names on that petition to save option 4. And as I said, councillor, we need to listen to our constituents, we need to listen to what people are saying. So I think it's very important that we do table this petition. And once again, I'd ask for a full report to be written by our officers to be actioned at the next council meeting.
Councillor Emerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and ditto to that. I think it's a process that speeds up the petition where we wouldn't have the petition sitting on the table for 2 months. It'll only be 1 month.
Yep. Any other councillors wish to speak? Okay, you wish to sum up at all, Councillor Hislop?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Yep, third item.
So deferment on any action to the proposal to locate the pre-prep modular building in Market Square to seek additional time to consider other options. So I'm just asking for the matter to be deferred.
Have a mover. Going to get a seconder for that motion.
Yes, Mr Mayor. I'll support the motion for debate.
Okay. Councillor Hislop.
just given there's a lot of community angst in regards to this pre-prep modular building, and given just today in our council reports, Murray and Trevor both commented and said, you know, we need to consider going forward what our next steps are going to be, if there are going to be any other steps. But I think we need to take some time, sit back and think about what the consequences of putting a pre-prep modular building in Market Square may be. We need to ask for some more information. We need to consider that information, and I'm hoping somewhere down the track there might be another option that might satisfy both parties, both sides of the argument. I can see both sides of the argument, but you know, sometimes decisions are hard to make, but I would hope that we'd make the best decision for all of St.
Councillor Emerson.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd reserve my right to debate until I hear what the other councillors have got to say.
Any other councillors wish to speak?
Yes, Mr Mayor. It's just a pity it's got to this. I think we do have to wait and have a look at what these, let both petitions come in and have a look at the whole program now. It's and I'd like to see not down the track pretty quick, that wherever we put the building, which I still think short term to get it going, to get kids out of in daycare, it probably has to go in Market Square. But we need to look at trying to raise funding from the governments or anywhere else and build a completely new kindergarten daycare centre in St Arnaud. And the suggestions that I've had over the weekend from people beside the stadium on the way into St Arnaud to actually build a complete unit. I don't know what cost that'd be, but something like that is going to take at least 5 years or something like that, probably, to get it on the road. And that's why I said we've still got to get these kids into daycare as soon as we can. So thank you.
Any other councillors?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Considering we've only had a few minutes to digest this third unexpected motion, I've had a few minutes to gather my thoughts on this. Yes, it would be lovely to have an integrated facility, no question. It would be lovely to cater for the growing number of children that we've got to look forward to in the coming future, because that means that the town is growing and expanding. Yes, it would be lovely to have that. We also understand that there's a timeline within which we have to provide these services that are fully funded by the government to the tune of about $2.3 million that we just don't have. I just don't think that that deferral is an option. Certainly there's always opportunities to gather more information, but stopping something dead in the water whilst we're waiting for that information will jeopardise any hope of us getting services. And the opportunity to provide back-to-back care, or as I keep on being told by constituents that contact me routinely, nested care, where they've got the ability to have daycare before and after kindergarten provision, so that they can carry on full-time work, is important to a significant proportion of the population. And I can't support a deferral. Thank you.
Any other councillors?
Yes, thank you. And I think based on that too, if there's a potential that if we don't act, we can lose the grant and what we've received so far from the state government. So I think it's worth considering that deferring it for a period of time could result in us not having anything at all. And for a community like St Arnaud, it's a great opportunity to have a facility like that, especially with such limited options of care at the moment and the impact that has on the community and the flow-on effects. What I've talked about before in my report was the voice of young people, and I think in this particular debate and area of interest that's really been lost. These young people haven't had a voice and been able to speak for themselves. They've had members of the community trying to do it for and against them as well, and we really need to come back to the purpose of the building and the information in the first place, and that was try to provide care for these young people and their carers to be able to work. I'm really disappointed with the way this has divided the community and a lot of the hostility that's been people have been subject to, including myself, community members on the street feeling unsafe, feeling harassed, bombarded. I just think that goes against any of my principles as a human being and as a councillor. But really, debate should be respectful, and it should be, I'm all for open debate, but if we can't be having it in environments where people are kind to one another and can debate in a respectful manner, regardless of what side you sit on or what your opinion is, I think we've really been losing sight of that, particularly in the Cynana community, and that I'm really shameful for that has to occur, people that have to endure that. So to them, I apologise, and I hope that people can see that, can sort of take a step back in some of their behaviour, and we can all just have frank and open and conversations where we do come together and work collaboratively and respectfully, rather than people, being able to leave their houses, community members being threatened that local businesses in the town won't be supported, that people can't take their toddlers and babies to supermarkets without being harassed and feeling threatened. So I think that's just a point I'd like to note in this whole situation too.
Any other councillors?
Yes, I absolutely agree with Councillor Dempsey on all of those points. What we're looking at here is we're looking at our children, we're looking at the children and the children's future and security and the ability of the parents to go to work and earn $1 while their children get looked after hours after kinder, or a car park. I mean, common sense should prevail. We don't have the money to build a wonderful new centre where everything is co-located, but we do have the option here of a free building, fully installed, up and operational, fully furnished, that can work in a co-location. I was called by a woman. I've had many different calls from residents over the last week or two. A lady called me, and she was elderly, and she said, "You should have seen the kerfuffle when they put the kindergarten in the park the first time years ago." She said, "No, but nobody wanted it there, but there was nowhere else to put it." So this is history repeating itself, I think, slightly, but we've also got to remember the needs of the children and the needs of parents to earn $1 to be able to support those children, educate them properly, clothe them and feed them, has to come ahead of the need for a few car parking spaces on an asphalt car park. So I agree with Councillor Dempsey, I agree with Councillor Ostasevich, I agree with Councillor Trevor here next to me as well. I think that common sense should prevail. This is a golden opportunity to take care of an urgent need. Thank you.
Yes, I think everyone would agree, those for and against the project, that the service is absolutely needed in Cynana. We've heard many people speak of not being able to get that service, and I think everyone agrees that the service is needed. Where it's located, I think we can work within the constraints of the project, that we'll be doing our very, very best to try and locate it in what is a difficult situation. It is a shame to see the town divided over this, but we will do our very best with the information we have at hand to put it in the location which best suits Cynana. Councillor Heslop, you wish to sum up?
I'm still reserving my...
Oh, okay. You wish to speak now, Councillor Emerson?
I will, thank you. Firstly, my seconding the motion was to create the debate so we can be all clear around the table as where we all sit. Now that I've heard the debate, unfortunately, I won't be supporting the debate for a couple of reasons. One is there is another option available to us as time goes on, be it in a week's time or 2 weeks' time. We can have a special council meeting and specifically deal with a motion in relation to the pre-prep kindergarten stuff. So I don't see there's any reason for us to move a motion now that I've heard the debate to support Councillor Heslop's argument, and I say sorry for that. Just one other point that I will make. The responsibility of us is to represent the communities fairly, unbiasedly, and to get all the information we can together to make sure we make the right decision. I haven't got all that information just yet, and if I supported Councillor Heslop and it was for a 2-week period, I still mightn't have it then, but somewhere along the way I will have the information, and then I will probably pursue a motion in regard to one way or the other. But I won't be supporting the motion at the moment.
Okay. You did foreshadow a motion at some date down the track, so we'll deal with that when it occurs. Councillor Heslop, you wish to sum up?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's lost. Okay, public question time, and we do have some questions. These came in on time. I do have a late one here from Deb, which we'll answer at some stage. We'll get your answers to you very soon. It's pretty straightforward. Look, I think we can answer those questions. Do you wish to speak? Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes to speak on those. Yeah, you can, yeah.
I'd just like to introduce that petition, which has got 500 hard copy signatures and currently 182 online signatures. This is a big representation in 2 weeks. It represents over one third of the population of St Arnaud, and both of those petitions are ongoing. So more signatures are being collected as we speak. This petition provides evidence that the St Arnaud community opinion is overwhelmingly against locating the pre-prep modular building on Market Square. It does not suit the community, and the ELC has no room to expand at Market Square. My first question: why was the decision made to move the building from the original location near the state primary school? This decision has now fostered misinformation and divisions within our community. Sure, there might have been a few problems with the original location, a few objecting parents, some transportation and staffing issues, but these could have easily been addressed. We're dealing with comparatively small numbers of people and a supportive community after all. Now we're dealing with a whole lot more problems which have been created. And my second question, where would we be now if that decision to change the original location had not been made? Thank you.
No worries. We will get back to you with the answers to those questions. I have some questions here from Chloe Freeman. Just get the question. Will the new pre-prep building, regardless of location, increase the capacity of long day care services at St Arnaud Early Learning Centre? Yes or no? The answer is yes. It is anticipated that the construction of pre-prep modular will enable the centre to increase its capacity for long day places. The second question, same person. Reports available on the Northern Grampians website indicate that Northern Grampians has been aware of a long day care service has been running at capacity since 2012. What planning has been made in the last decade to mitigate the impact of this on working families in St Arnaud? They're fairly long-winded answers, these. The centre has sufficient capacity to accommodate demand from 2012 to 2021. From 2012 to 2014, families were able to book children in without prior notice on a casual basis. Due to capacity in the centre from 2015, the centre has had no waiting list and there were vacancies in the kindergarten programs. The waiting list, particularly for 0 to 3-year-olds, has developed since COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. All early childhood and education centres across Victoria have experienced significant increase in demand. While no quantitative data is available, qualitative information indicates that this is related to increasing interest rates and the impact on household budgets and thus the need for more income. It still goes on. The impact of isolation and being at home for long periods as a result of lockdowns also appears to be an influencing factor. Interesting influence. Result of in parents and carers wanting to return to work and children to school. Council has recognised the need for a more strategic approach to service and infrastructure planning for early years across the municipality, not just in St Arnaud. This is in the council plan and is scheduled for 2024. Chloe asked another question. Has this project got an applicable service infrastructure plan with a full costing projection that can be shared with ratepayers? The cost of construction of the modular building has been undertaken by the Victorian School Building Authority. The VSBA is also a project manager. The Victorian Government has indicated that it will meet the costs of this important initiative. Have 3 questions from Bernadette Thursby. In relation to the pre-prep building in St Arnaud, the current accepted proposal where it is funded, where is the funding coming from to pay for the tree removal, car park facelift, bus stop, move, etc.? Cost of construction of the modular building has been, I just answered that one, by the VSBA. VSBA is also the project manager and the Victorian Government has indicated they will meet the costs of this important initiative. No trees will be removed except those required at the location of the modular buildings. Discussions are underway with the Department of Transport regarding the bus stop. She asked the next question, where will popular events in St Arnaud be held if Market Square and the car park become the pre-prep building? Events such as the Christmas parade would be sorely missed if not able to be accommodated for. The construction of the modular will not prevent events being held in St Arnaud or at Market Square. Third question from Bernadette. If the Market Square proposal for the pre-prep building in St Arnaud came to fruition due to not wanting it placed at St Arnaud Primary School, as has been suggested locally, have other vacant spaces been adequately considered as placement options? Council has considered several options to locate the modular. The preferred site is adjacent to the existing early learning centre. So those answers will be sent to that person, and Deb will answer your questions very soon. Public question time. Okay, we have some contractual matters to deal with, so we might move into closed council just for a second. Thanks for coming along. It's not the end of the story.
Happy to move a motion, Mr Mayor, that we move into closed council.
Thanks.
I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
Go on. Give those questions.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Hey? Oh, yeah. All in favour of that going back in open council?
By the bell. They coming back? No.
Come back.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased to report the two resolutions from Council's closed meeting. The first has 4 parts. Thanks to Councillor Haswell. Well done. 14.1, Council agreed to extend contract C2 2022-23 provision of plumbing services for the first 1-year extension commencing 16 September 23 and expiring on 15 September 24. Second part, 14.2, Council award contract C2 2023-24 provision of various trade services and appoints the following tenderers to the panel of preferred contractors: Flick Anti-Cymex Pty Limited, Laser Electrical Horsham, O'Brien Concreting, Ross McLaughlin Painting, Benchmark Building, C&K Cosin Pty Limited, ATF, and C&K Cosin Family Trust Trading, and as Cosin Constructions Only Holdings Pty Limited. Third element is Council agreed to extend contract C3 2022-23 provision of electrical trade services for the first year extension commencing 16th September 23 and expiring 15th September 24. And the fourth and final part is Council agreed to extend contract C1 2022-23 external plant and equipment hire for civil works for the first year extension from 1st of October 23 to the 30th of September 24. The second resolution, 14.5, Council award contract C1 23-24 design for the redevelopment of the Stall Sports and Aquatic Centre, ESAC, to DWP Australia Pty Limited for their submitted lump sum price. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, there being no further business, we'll declare the meeting closed.